After 7 strained years of silence, my son and daughter-in-law returned, and demanded my home. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The doorbell rang, and the sound echoed like a thunderclap through my chest. I hesitated, my palms clammy against the worn wood of the dining table. Hope twisted in my stomach, a choking knot. Could it be? 3 loud knocks came again, insistent and sharp. My heart raced as I opened the door, unveiling a face I once knew so well, my son. But he looked different. Shadows loomed under his eyes, and tension twisted his features like a tightly knotted rope. Beside him stood his wife, her arms crossed tightly over her chest, the silence heavy between us thicker than the years of absence. "What are you doing here?" My voice trembled. The air crackled, thick with unspoken resentments. Memories rushed back, the laughter at Thanksgiving, the hugs, the birthdays I'd missed. Now, all that felt like a ghost, a haunting echo of what once was. "Mom, we need to talk," he said, not stepping forward. A chill seeped into my bones. The tension practically vibrated off the walls. I could almost hear the whispers of old scars opening, the years of distance pouring back around us like icy water. "About what?" I whispered. My hands betrayed me, shaking at my sides. "It's the house," he said, eyes darting around as if the very walls were listening, judging. My heart sank. I felt the weight of Ithy Place filled with memories and warmth, now suddenly cold and distant. It was my sanctuary, my bastion against the world. "We want it. We need it." Their calm demeanor pierced through me like dagger, each word echoing fiercely. I opened my mouth to protest, but the lump in my throat stopped me. "You can't just," but he interrupted as if he'd rehearsed this moment over and over, each word sliced through the air sharply. "We deserve it, Mom. You know that." I looked at my daughter-in-law. Her expression was impassive, a mask of calculated control. It sparked something dark in me. Why now? After all these years of no phone calls, no messages, just silence. What had changed? Why? Why now? I demanded, voices crackling. The confusion burned in my chest, heart racing, and I struggled to breathe through the tightness clawing at my throat. "You just waltz in after years and demand my home." Their silence was deafening. Time stood still, and the weight of unspoken words filled the gaps like growing weeds. I felt the room closing in, walls tightening. A sudden rush of anger surged through me. "You think you can just take this from me?" He stepped closer, eyes firm and unforgiving. "You know the truth of what's coming." His voice dropped, settling heavily between us like fog, and I felt a chill run down my spine. What was he hiding? I searched for words, but they vanished, leaving only the thick tension in the air. "Coming? What are you talking about?" I asked, my breath hitching as fear of the unknown washed over me. I felt every heartbeat pulse in my ears, urging me to make sense of this madness. But before he could answer, his eyes darted beyond me. Just for a moment the mask slipped as something unexpected flickered in his gaze. I turned, straining to see what had drawn his attention, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. A distant shadow loomed outside, a figure cloaked in darkness, watching us intently. "Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. I froze, barely digesting the confrontation brewing inside my home. My heart thrummed like a wild bird trapped in a cage, desperate to escape. Outside, the figure remained immobile, a silhouette with an almost palpable weight to its shadow that felt woven from my past fears. Something about it drew my gaze repeatedly, clawing at the edges of my panic. "Mom." My son's voice sliced through the murky air of uncertainty. I turned back to him, searching for some semblance of the boy I once knew. "We're not here to hurt you. We're just asking for you to understand." His words felt hollow, almost rehearsed, but there was a flicker of something, was it fear, in his expression that tethered me to reality for just a moment longer. Understand what? I didn't want to reveal my vulnerability, but desperation clawed at my throat. "Things are going to change. You have to believe us." The urgency in his voice resonated, and with it, a memory washed over me, him as a child, his small hands reaching up for answers in the chaotic world we lived in. I couldn't help but feel a fragmented sense of that innocence beside me now. "Just talk to me," I pressed, the anger shifting from a weapon to a trembling lifeline. "Why do you need the house? What truth are you running from?" My daughter-in-law shifted, her defensive stance faltering slightly as she caught my eye, breaking the armor of indifference. "We don't have anywhere to go," she admitted, her voice softer but still strained. "The bank is there coming to take our home." The words hung like a thick fog, threatening to choke out every breath. "Why didn't you reach out sooner?" I felt the walls of our past warping around the present, thickening the gap that had already become unbearable, and then he said it. "I was ashamed, Mom. I thought you'd be disappointed. We wanted to make it on our own." With every word, the jagged edges of hurt felt like they were reshaping into something raw and undeniable, the agony of his absence transforming under the weight of his regrets. I missed weddings and birthdays. I felt tears pricking at the corners of my eyes, the grief resurfacing painfully. "And you didn't even think to let me know you were in trouble." "Neither of us wanted to burden you," he insisted, his voice cracking. The truth of those words trembled in the air between us, sheavy, yet freeing, echoing with the whispers of our history, and as the clamoring fears began to settle into an uncomfortable truce, the silhouette at the edge of my property shifted, taking a step closer. The figure was a stark contrast against the dimming twilight, like a spectre rising from the depths of my memories. "What the hell?" My voice was edged with sudden panic as I noticed the features of the outsider, thin, gaunt, with a hollow gaze that caused my breath to falter. And then from that shadow, a name slipped out, laced with urgency and anguish: Elliot. My heart plummeted as ancient, bitter memories clawed their way back. The name echoed like thunder through my consciousness, reverberating off the very foundation of my soul. Elliot, my long-lost brother, who had vanished without a trace years ago during the tumult of family upheaval. I had mourned him, buried that part of my life. "What are you doing here?" I gasped, shock rendering my previous turmoil into a confused haze. The man who once brought chaos to my life stood just beyond the threshold of my sanctuary, the man whose disappearance was shrouded in unanswered questions. "I need to talk to you." His voice trembled as he took another tentative step forward, the desperation in his eyes flickering like a dying flame. "It's about what's coming. We don't have time." My son frowned, stepping protectively in front of me. "Get away from her. You're not welcome here." "No, wait," I exclaimed, the bewildering emotions swirling within me refusing to be contained. My mind was on fire, a tempest of confusion and dread, as I battled ancient wounds of betrayal and worry. My brother had returned when I least expected it, bringing with him the shadows of an uncertain future. Distant sirens wailed in the background, adding to the already charged atmosphere. I felt the confusion and anger intertwine like vines around my heart, clutching it tighter, squeezing out any hope. I never meant to hurt you, Elliot pleaded, his eyes welling with something I hadn't seen in years: frightened vulnerability. Unseen forces shifted in the air, and a haunting dread pooled in my stomach as I anticipated the storm about to descend upon us. Mom, we need to deal with this now, my son reiterated, his tone firm but crackling with urgency. Please, Elliot's voice broke through the tension, you have to trust me. I'm not the enemy. What I know could change everything. And that unknown truth hung heavily between us, a reckoning that promised to twist our already fractured lives even further. As the darkness settled around us, much like the threat of incursion beyond the brief flashlight of our lives, I stood at a precipice, teetering between the ghosts of the past and the uncertainty of the future, my heart caught in an unending loop of dread. The shadows whispered secrets I wasn't ready to hear. The tensions in the air thickened, and with each minute that passed, the chill of uncertainty seeped deeper into my bones. Elliot stood there like a ghost resurrected from the mausoleum of my mind, while my son and daughter-in-law bristled with fear and protectiveness, creating an impenetrable barrier around me. It's not safe to talk here. I finally managed to breathe, my heart racing as chaos spun out beyond our door. The sense of being surrounded by ghosts, both past and present, crackled like static. Elliot's brow furrowed, his features stark against the growing shadows of dusk. We need to act fast. It's not just the bank, there are other forces at play. What other forces? My voice trembled as I struggled to process what I was hearing. Memories of childhood skirmishes with Elliot surfaced, all fueled by his reckless spirit. My brother had always been a tempest, tearing through our lives with laughter that often masked darker undercurrents. Mom? My son's voice sliced through the moment. You can't trust him. He left us. He didn't care. The word stung, a cruel echo of disappointments that had laid over the years. They felt unworthy of our current circumstances, yet I couldn't dismiss their weight. No, I intercepted, shaking my head as I slowly approached Elliot, who remained rooted like a statue in the throes of a storm. There's a part of him that I need to understand. You can't just shut the door on family, even when it's easier to keep things locked away. My son flinched as if I had struck him. Mom, you don't know what he's been through or what he's capable of. No, I don't, I snapped back, surprising myself with the heat of my frustration. But I know him better than anyone here. I have to hear him out. If he's come back, it's for a reason. And we can't afford to turn anyone away, not now. A flicker of relief washed over Elliot's face, as if my words were a lifeline amidst a stormy sea. He searched my eyes, desperately trying to bridge the distance of years that had threatened to consume us both. Please, he whispered, you have to trust me. Everything I've done led me here, to warn you. Behind him, the darkness conspired with the impending night, deepening the sense of foreboding that seemed to wrap around us like an ancient shroud. I could feel the heaviness of generations weighing down on this moment, unshackling stories and secrets that had long been buried. Okay, I relented, my heart pounding against my ribcage. But first, let's step inside. I gestured to the threshold of our home, feeling an unsettling blend of hope and dread. The moment we crossed over, suddenly trapped within the four walls that had held countless memories, everything shifted. As Elliot stepped in, an unshakable heaviness filled the room, as if the walls themselves were listening. Light flickered from the old overhead fixture, casting unnatural shadows that danced with dread, and as my son and daughter-in-law reluctantly followed, I felt the fragile equilibrium begin to crack. What's coming, Elliot? My voice was low, threading through the tension that now saturated the air. What should we be prepared for? Instincts have always been sharper than any knife, he started, eyes darting toward the windows as though anticipating an unseen invasion. You don't understand. There are people out there, powerful people. They are interested in the land. It's more than just a house. It's bigger than us. What are you talking about? My daughter-in-law's voice wavered, painted over with uncertainty even, as she clutched her husband's arm tightly. Elliot took a deep breath. They believe there's something hidden, here's something tied to our family's history. It's what drove me away all those years ago. I thought I could escape, but his voice faltered, and I watched as fear seeped into his eyes, rimming them with urgency. I found myself entangled with the wrong people. They want to reclaim what's essentially theirs, reclaim. The bitterness of his words tasted horrible on my tongue. What do you mean, ours? This was never theirs, this is our home. Elliot winced, as if the very essence of his remarks had struck a nerve. That's what I thought too, but we were never just innocent bystanders in the grander scheme of things. The past doesn't just shape the present, it looms over it. Then what do we do? My voice felt small, lost in the tumult of confusion. What can we do against whatever threatens us? I'm not here to hurt you, Elliot reiterated, his voice steadying. But we're not safe. You need to gather what you can, and we need to prepare. They won't just take the house, they'll come for our family as well. Before I could respond, a loud crash shattered the stillness of our conversation, followed by an array of frantic barks outside the door. The ferocious sound sent my heart into my throat. What the hell was that? My son yelled, moving instinctively toward the window. Stay back. Elliot thundered, the ferocity in his voice reverberating through the walls. I could hardly breathe as the anxious weight of that moment tore through me. My family shuffled in disarray, teetering on the brink as the echoes of chaos approached. With that single crash, the door of our lives swung open, ushering in a reality that I was not ready to face. In our shared panic, everything appeared to unravel. And as I glanced toward Elliot, I found his gaze fixed on the shadows outside, an unshaken certainty blooming within the chaos. They are coming, he said gravely. And this time, we'll either stand together, or we won't stand at all. I stood amidst the brewing storm, feeling the quiet of despair settle around me as I grasped the enormity of the battle before us, my heart echoing a truth I feared more than anything the past, it seemed, would never truly let us go. The cacophony outside grew louder, drowning out the deepening silence that clung to our home. A sickening knot twisted in my stomach as I took a step back, glancing between Elliot and the window where shadows flickered like specters of our past. The once cozy haven felt like a cage, the laughter of family long gone, now reduced to whispers of dread. Mom, my son's voice broke through my thoughts, laced with panic, we need to do something. If we stay here, we're sitting ducks. Gather what we can, Elliot commanded, his presence solidifying amidst the rising chaos. It's not just the house they want. They want our history, our memories, everything that binds us. Do you have any idea who they are? My daughter-in-law, Emily, implored, her wide eyes piercing through the dim light, as she leaned against the wall for support. Elliot turned back to us, determination igniting a spark in his gaze. They are powerful, and they have eyes everywhere. But they'll stop at nothing to reclaim what they believe belongs to them. We have to stick together and trust each other. Whatever misunderstandings we've had over the years can't matter right now. I observed my family's reactions, the past wounds breathing anew, painful embers against the raw backdrop of our fear. Elliot, how do we trust that you won't lead us into the flames? I challenged, my heart heavy with doubt. You left us once. What if you betray us again? A flicker of hurt washed across Elliot's face. This is not about me anymore. Don't you see? If I didn't care, I wouldn't be here. I thought I could protect you by staying away. But now, the ghosts I left behind are here, too. Before I could respond, my son charged toward the window, determination etched on his brow. "I'll check outside. We can't be caught off guard." "No," I shouted, gripping his arm to halt him. "You have to listen. We don't know what's out there." He turned, the fire of youth and defiance in his eyes. "Then what do we do, Mom? Wait here to be hunted?" "We have to act." The tension twisted tighter in the room, a taut string ready to snap. I glanced toward Emily, who looked as lost as I felt, her vibrant spirit dulled beneath layers of uncertainty and fear. Still, there was something deep within me, glimmer of hope, acutely aware that our family still shared a bond despite the jagged scars left from our past. "Listen," I finally said, lowering my voice, "maybe we should gather supplies and make a plan. You can check outside, just be cautious. But we need to stick together. Communication is key, trust is key." Elliot stepped forward, the storm of emotions still swirling in his eyes. "There's a cellar outside that leads to old tunnels. If they come for us, we might need to escape. It's our best shot. We need to go now, then." My son's voice was tight, filled with a sense of urgency that propelled us into motion. "Mom, grab the family photos. Anything that matters. We'll decide what else we can take on the way." Family photos. A wave of nostalgia crashed over me. These were remnants of who we were, a tapestry of moments woven together through laughter and love. In a world on the brink of collapse, they felt more significant than simple memories. "Mom, hurry!" shouted my son, his frustration fueling my own. With a deep breath, I dashed to the nearby bookshelf, snatching faded albums that had seen better days. I cradled the albums to my chest, wrapping my arms around the fragmented history of our family. My heart ached for every moment that had slipped through our fingers. As I turned back, I saw Elliot rummaging through the kitchen, grabbing our emergency supplies, his face strained with the weight of urgency. "We don't have time. We need to move." "Just a moment," I urged, the panic rushing through me as I tried to collect my thoughts. Behind me, Emily knelt near the door, her expression flickering between fear and determination. "I know this isn't easy, but our family needs this together. We can't let them take us." Suddenly, a loud banging erupted at the front door, splintering the air with a visceral jolt. My heart dropped into my stomach. Shadows danced outside the window, figures closing in like a vengeful storm. "Go!" Elliot yelled, racing to the door while beckoning the rest of us. "We have to get to the cellar now." If there was ever a moment I felt solidarity growing, it was then, forged through fear and the impending doom lurking just beyond our sanctuary. Together, we all moved as one desperate unit, rushing to the back door that led to the garden where the cellar awaited, hope flickering just above the abyss of uncertainty. But just as we were about to escape, a familiar voice rang out from the darkness, chilling the air. "Did you really think you could hide?" My breath hitched as I turned, my blood turning cold at the sight. Standing in the shrouded twilight was a figure I never expected to see, someone connected to our family, yet a harbinger of ruin. A face that hadn't crossed my mind in years loomed there, lips twisted into a malicious smile, ready to unveil the inconvenient truths we had all fought to bury. "Hello, family," they purred, the very essence of danger painted across their features. "It looks like we have much to discuss." My heart raced as dread coiled tighter, a dreadful realization settling upon me. The past was indeed not done with us. It was merely the beginning of something even more tumultuous. As the door before us cracked under the weight of their malice, I understood the time for choices had passed. We were plunged into a new level of chaos, and my heart knew that the darkest shadows had yet to be revealed. The tension gripped the atmosphere like a vice, and as the familiar voice sliced through the air, my stomach dropped. The figure stepped closer into the flickering light, and the recognition hit me like a physical blow. It was Rebecca, my sister, who had once been my closest ally and now stood before us as a spectre of betrayal. Rebecca. The name left my lips in a gasp, the memories of our shared childhood flooding my mind. Days filled with laughter and secrets seemed so far removed from the ominous energy that radiated from her now. "What have you done?" She swayed slightly, as if savoring our horror. "Done? Oh, dear sister, in merely reclaiming what was always mine." Her gaze shifted to my son and Emily, a smirk adorning her face. "And your little family here? They were never meant to be part of this. You've kept them in the dark all these years." Elliot stepped protectively in front of me, his body tense. "You don't have to do this, Rebecca. We can come to an understanding. You don't have to hurt them, hurt them." She laughed, a hollow sound that echoed off the walls of the house. "You mistake me for a monster. This is business, Elliot. Nothing personal. And if you don't comply, I will do what I must." "Comply with what?" My voice trembled, the album of memories still clutched tightly in my arms. "You want our family's history. Our home. What more could you possibly want?" Rebecca's eyes glinted with something akin to madness. "Everything," she hissed. "You only see a house, but this is a legacy. You've protected it, guarded it all these years, while I was cast aside. Do you know what it's like to be forgotten?" Her pain felt raw, like a wound bleeding into our reality, but I could not allow that pain to justify the terror she brought with her. The images of family gatherings and late-night conversations flashed through my mind, urging me to reach out to her. "You're still family, Rebecca. We can find a way to navigate through this, family." She spat, her lip curling in disgust. "You turned your back on me the day you chose to side with them." A gesture toward Elliot, her feelings palpable, twisted into something darker. "I've given you all a chance to step into the light, but you insist on living in shadows." The shadows danced behind her, as if they were alive, whispering secrets that had long been buried. I searched Elliot's face for reassurance, but I saw only concern as he struggled to maintain his protective stance. "Let the family stay, Rebecca," he said gently, his voice steady. "We can't change the past, but we can choose how we move forward. You don't have to lose yourself in bitterness." She scoffed, her expression transforming. "I've gained everything I need. The world's watching us now. You've ardently hidden from the truth, but I've embraced it. I will take what belongs to me, and this house holds the key." The banging on the front door increased, the sound like a haunting drumbeat signaling our imminent collapse. I could feel the fear clawing at my throat, desperate to burst forth. "What do you want with us?" I demanded, my voice breaking. "We've all suffered. Can't we just stand together in this?" Suddenly, the ground beneath our feet felt unsteady as the reality of our situation unfolded. My children were standing beside me, their futures entwined with decisions they didn't understand. I had to shield them from this chaos, to protect the love that tethered us together. Rebecca looked at them, and for a heartbeat, I thought I saw a flicker of something fear. Regret? But it was gone as quickly as it appeared, replaced by a look of steely resolve. "Family has its costs," she murmured, a sly smile creeping back onto her lips. "Are you willing to pay?" Just then, a boot crashed through the splintering door, wood fracturing under pressure, sending splinters flying. The moment was charged with an electric urgency. We were running out of time. "Run!" Elliot barked, shoving me and the kids toward the back of the house, and I felt the force of impending chaos surging behind us. I wanted to scream at Rebecca, to confront her reckless ambition and the life she was forfeiting at our expense. But the shadows outside were closing in, more relentless than even the dark sorrows of our past. In the throes of desperation, as we scrambled toward the cellar, a heavy hand grasped my shoulder. I turned to see Emily, her eyes wide with fear. "Mom, what do we do?" Her question pierced me through the heart, echoing Rebecca's earlier sentiments. I felt the pressure of my choices crashing down around us, the knowledge that our family might unravel at the seams in this very moment. In the depth of our frantic escape, as we entered the tunnel beneath the house, I glanced back once more at the figure of my sister silhouetted against the dim light. The malice spilled from her, but intermingled with it was a sadness I couldn't ignore. And then the world before me darkened completely as the door fell from its hinges, a blustering torrent of otherworldly figures flooding through, seeking the remnants of our past. I felt a shiver race down my spine as Rebecca's voice called out, echoing through the dark. "This is just the beginning. You will have to face the truth eventually or lose everything." The darkness swallowed us whole, the air heavy with uncertainty, but beneath the clamor of chaos, a flicker of hope remained, whispering that some bonds ran deeper than betrayal. As we pressed further into the unseen abyss, my heart pounded with a singular question: how much longer could we hold on to each other before fate unwound our ties completely? The air in the tunnel was thick with dread, the darkness wrapping around us like a shroud. Elliot, ever vigilant, pulled my children closer as we stumbled deeper into the earth's embrace. I could hear the distant sounds of chaos above, the echoes of Rebecca's betrayal crashing down upon us like waves against a rocky shore. Each step felt heavier, as if the weight of our family's fractured past was dragging us into the abyss. "Where do we go now?" my son whispered, breaking the suffocating silence. His voice was small, fear spilling from his eyes like spilled ink. A fleeting thought crossed my mind. I had once been his fortress, his protector. Yet now, I felt like a ghost, drifting aimlessly, trying to catch up with the shards of a life that seemed impossible to put back together. Elliot paused, scanning the darkened passage for any signs of danger. "There has to be another way out." "Well, just keep moving." His voice, although firm, cracked slightly. I could see the determination in his eyes, but also the flicker of despair, a reflection of my own, away from her. I murmured, part of me still desperate to understand Rebecca's twisted motives. The other part, one that had once shared whispered secrets and midnight laughs with her, wanted to shut the door on her completely. "She's lost to us now, isn't she?" Elliot squeezed my hand, a tether in this dark, turbulent moment. "We'll figure this out together. We have to stay united. That's our strength." His words, a balm against the chaos outside, momentarily soothed the turmoil roiling within me. In that long, unnerving silence, I couldn't help but remember the echoes of laughter in the yard, the warmth of the sun on our backs as we played our games. Rebecca had been more than a sister, she had been my first friend. But now, she wielded pain like a weapon, and as much as I wanted to feel sympathy for her plight, I couldn't let her darkness consume our family. Suddenly, a flicker of light appeared far down the tunnel. My heart raced as I squinted into the dim glow, hoping it heralded an escape. As we approached, the flickering illuminated the walls, revealing what remained of forgotten memories etched into the stone. Family photographs covered in dust, remnants of joyful birthdays, and tender smiles captured in moments now lost to time. "Mom, look." Emily pointed, her voice trembling with forlorn affection. "Our family, yes," I interrupted softly, cutting off the wave of nostalgia. But those moments were not just past, they were built on trust and love. I stepped closer, gently brushing the dust off a frame that held a picture of us gathered around the kitchen table. As I traced the glass with trembling fingers, a quiet resolve enveloped me. "We cannot let her take this away from us," I declared, feeling the fire of determination rekindle inside. "We must confront her. It might not work, but standing together, united, is our only chance." "Are you sure?" Elliot asked, his eyes searching mine, as if gauging my courage against the darkness that loomed ahead. What if she's gone too far? If we don't face her, we'll always live in her shadow, I replied, locking my gaze onto Emily's wide eyes, wrapping her hope around my heart. We owe it to each other to endure this, to confront whatever's waiting for us. We pressed onward into the light, only to find a way marked with shadows of betrayal. The tunnel indeed led to the front room of the house. What once felt like our sanctuary now lay strewn with debris and foreboding silence. And there she was, Rebecca. Distracted and emotional, pacing as if the very walls were judging her. My heart pounded in my chest as the flickering light cast her silhouette, making her seem both monstrous and fragile. She looked up at the sound of our approach, eyes bursting with an indefinable furious storm awaiting to unleash its wrath. So, you've finally decided to show your cowardly faces, she sneered. Just returning to whimper before me like dogs at their master's feet. Rebecca, I said, stepping forward boldly. My voice echoed through the rubble. We can still save what's left. This can't be all of this can't be what. You wanted. A flicker of surprise crossed her face. Save what? A family that has failed to acknowledge the past. You have the audacity to speak of saving things, while you hid behind your false warmth and comfort. Every family has shadows lurking in their history, Rebecca. But we cannot dismantle the love to chase after ghosts, I implored, hoping the sister I remembered lay somewhere within the darkness that now infused her. A moment hung between us, Shivi, anxious and then shattered as her anger resurfaced. You think I care about love? You were the one who turned your back. You have inherited a legacy, and I will not let you erase me any longer. As she shouted, something shifted in my heart. I was suddenly reminded of the small acts of kindness when I watched her protect our little secret, or how she consoled me when I stumbled through the shrinking pages of our shared history. Rebecca, I whispered, and this time my voice bore a softness she hadn't anticipated. It doesn't have to be this way. You can come back into our lives. Let us be family again. In her gaze, I thought I witnessed a moment of vulnerability, the urge to respond, but then it flickered away, like a dying ember. Family, she murmured, almost to herself. Family is nothing but a chain meant to bind you. Just then, a deafening crash echoed through the house, drawing us all to attention. The shadows outside invaded the room, clawing through the walls with an insatiable hunger. Rebecca turned, her resolve visibly wavering as terror seeped into her features. You don't understand. They won't let me go. What do you mean? I asked, confusion painting my face as darkness swarmed around us, hungry and demanding. I could feel a chill creeping into my bones, as if the very essence of despair was rising. They come for what you have. They'll devour your hopes and leave you hollow. She screamed, desperate now. And as panic surged through me, I understood that we were in a fight far more significant than that of a single family's legacy. We were standing against forces that demanded not only our history, but the future of every family ever intertwined with our own. As we stood there, the chaos enveloping us, I realized the cold truth: the battle was never just with Rebecca. The real fight was against the darkness that threatened to swallow our bond whole, leaving no trace. Run! I shouted, seizing Emily's hand, urging them back into the tunnel. We need to escape. But as we turned, I felt a sudden pull at my heart. The fear I had for my sister mirrored back at me. It tied us together like an unbreakable thread, a weight, a reminder of the love that used to shine so brightly. But now the shadows pressed in, blurring the edges of our connection, and as we retreated into the darkened tunnel once more, one question began to leap between us. Even in the face of our sister's betrayal, could we find the light of hope buried within her? Or was it already too late? The tunnel stretched ahead, a serpentine path wrapped in darkness, as if nature itself was dictating our fate. My heart pounded against my ribcage, each beat a reminder of the urgency pulsating through my veins. I could feel Emily's tiny hand clutched tightly in mine, while Elliot's presence surged behind me, force of steadfastness even in these unsettled moments. As we retreated, shadows seemed to gnash at our heels, the chill a stark reminder of the fears we carried. Each step echoed the weight of Rebecca's words, and the spectre of her betrayal loomed larger than even the darkness around us. Could we truly confront her once again? And what would it cost us in the end? A flicker of light appeared intermittently ahead, pulsating like a heartbeat, a beacon in our labyrinth of despair. Keep moving, I urged, hastening my pace despite the heaviness threatening to consume my spirit. We need a way out. But as we hurried through the tunnel, a sense of vulnerability unfurled within me, matching the uncertain whispers that lingered in the depth of my mind. How could she say those things? Emily's voice quivered, breaking the silence and the invisible wall of tension that seemed to smother us. She was supposed to protect us, not try to hurt us. People change, sweetheart, I replied gently, trying to shield her from the bitter truths. Sometimes the darkness can take hold of someone we once knew. But my words felt hollow, as I knew that change could also occur through choices made in anger or betrayal. The truth, no matter how dulled, remained. Rebecca had chosen her path, and we were left to navigate the wreckage. The light grew brighter, as we neared the tunnel's end, transforming gradually into the warm hues of a flickering campfire. My heart stirred with cautious hope. Maybe someone else had found refuge here, a sign that we weren't alone in this labyrinthine nightmare. Maybe they would offer us solace amid the chaos. Emerging from the tunnel, our eyes adjusted to the sudden glow. Before us sat a small clearing, memories of countless years flickering within the shadows, a semblance of home in the darkest of places. Yet, something felt wrong. The air tinged with a sweet scent, both inviting and foreboding, twisted around us like a whispered invitation that felt far from sincere. In the center, gathering around the fire, were a few faces shrouded in indiscernible shadows. They glanced over their shoulders at us, eyes glinting with unspoken intentions. Welcome, one voice called softly, its smoothness contradicting the darkness surrounding it. You've come seeking refuge, haven't you? A sinking feeling took root in my stomach, igniting old instincts that warned me to tread lightly. Who are you? I asked, stepping protectively in front of my children, braving the unfamiliar yet inviting allure of their presence. We are friends of family, the voice responded, a hint of amusement weaving through their tone. Come closer. Warm yourselves. Despite the warmth of the flames dancing with a welcoming flicker, I felt cold. Friends of family. Until now, the only walls my children and I had faced were those of betrayal and secrecy, and I wasn't ready to trust the phantom of kindness presented to us in this unfamiliar territory. We're not interested, I replied firmly, gripping Emily's hand tighter. We just came through a dark passage, and we are looking to leave this place. The shadows around the fire seemed to grow more pronounced at my words, forming shifting shapes, as if they heard my intention and reacted. Leaving should not be your only thought. What if, instead of running, you embraced what lies before you? I exchanged a glance with Elliot, who mirrored my apprehension. What do you mean? He asked, his brow furrowing in suspicion. One figure stepped forward from the group, the light illuminating their face. It was an older woman, her eyes gleaming with the wisdom born from years of sorrow and conflict. We are the keepers of memories, the emotional remnants of the bonds you've built, the emotions you allowed to fracture. Rebecca's struggle is not one you share alone. It flows through you all, like darkened waters threatening to drown. Panic surged through me as the realization settled. The darkness that had overtaken Rebecca didn't just seek to devour her. It craved the connection, the love that once bound our family, lie by lie, threat by threat. We don't want to hear that, I managed, voice steadying. We're searching for hope, for a way to heal our family. But to heal requires acknowledging and facing, not just running away, the woman replied softly, piercing sorrow lacing through her articulate words. There are keys to every lock, and the key to yours lies buried in the heart of the choices each of you has made. Perhaps it's time to confront those choices. Her words echoed through the clearing and imbued me with a mix of dread and curiosity. It felt as if the shadows were wrapping tighter around the truth we'd hidden even from ourselves. The guilt, the misunderstandings, the moments when we had turned away from each other in anger or fear, it all flickered before me like the flames, illuminating the paths we could have taken instead. What do you want from us? Emily demanded boldly, her childish innocence turned fierce and protective. Her words struck me, igniting a fire of determination even as I felt the darkness hovering, waiting for our surrender. To guide you, the woman replied, a warmth spreading through the air as she extended her arms toward us. To help you face what you must to reclaim the unity you lost. As I searched her eyes, I saw a flicker of understanding, the promise of kindness wrapped in the fragility of truth. Yet, the anxiety sank deeper into my bones. Could we tackle the wounds left by Rebecca, and the shadows looming larger still? Just then, an unsettling roar issued from the tunnel we had just escaped. A cold wind snaking its way through the clearing, chilling our skin. My breath caught in my throat as the shadows began to twist violently. The darkness outside yearned to invade this flickering hope. Look! Elliot shouted, pointing back toward the tunnel. They are coming. With dread pooling within me like a tidal wave, I realized our fight was far from over. There lay a choice to step into the light of understanding and gather the strength to face it all together, or to succumb to the shadows that brought with them chaos and despair. Stay together. I shouted as the deep rumble of shadows filled the air, echoing with an ominous hunger that sought to tear us apart. We had to hold tight, forge the bond of love anew, or risk everything once again. And as I turned to face the encroaching darkness, the ground quaking beneath my feet, I heard the haunting question echoing in my heart: could we truly face our past and navigate the treacherous waters that divided us? Or was our fight already lost to the shadows threatening to consume us all whole? The shadows surged forth, a billowing black tide that pulled at the edges of my sanity. My instincts screamed at me to flee, yet I stood firm, heart pounding. We can't let them win, I whispered, more to myself than to my children, who stood resolutely by my side. The bonds you share are precious, the older woman's voice punctured the tension, but it felt laced with a hint of urgency. Strengthen them against the tempest. Mom, look! Elliot shouted again, fear mingling with his fierce determination. They are moving. I turned my gaze back to the tunnel, where shapes coalesced into forms reminiscent of the faces we had trusted. Memories twisted into dark apparitions, pressing against the borders of reality. These weren't just shadows, they embodied the pain of betrayal, the fears we had harbored since our journey began. Those are our pasts, I breathed, horrified. They are our mistakes. My voice trembled, yet I knew I had to guide my children through this storm. Then we fight them, Emily said, squeezing my hand tighter. A flicker of admiration ignited in my chest as I felt the fire of her courage. We've fought before, right? Yes, I said, steadying my voice. But this is different. They know how to manipulate our fears. Then let's turn those fears back on them. Elliot interjected, his face a mask of fierce resolve. What's hiding under their darkness? What does it really want? For a moment, silence reigned. The shadows writhed, anticipating our hesitation, sensing the chinks in our chestnut armor. The darkness demands acknowledgement, the woman reminded us with a tone that straddled sternness and gentle encouragement. You must face your truths. I nodded, drawing in a steadier breath. Then we do it together, I said, fierce love rising within me. We shine the light of what we desire: connection, understanding, forgiveness. We shout our truth into the abyss. Yes, the children cried, a unified front against our shared struggles. We will fight for what's real. For family. The shadows rippled and swirled, a laughter echoing from the gloom like a cruel wind. Do you think this can save you? A voice taunted, pierced with malice. You will never overcome your past. I stepped forward, emboldened by Emily and Elliot's presence. Watch us, I declared, strength pouring into my words like sunlight drawing strength from the dark. We've fought through pain, loss, and the emptiness left by your haunting echoes. We won't allow you to break us again. As I shouted, memories surged immersive around us, comfort of shared laughter, warmth under a forgotten blanket, moments of pure joy amid chaos. Each memory was a thread of light, weaving through our bodies, grounding us against the spectral horrors clinging in the periphery. Together, Emily shouted, invoking the words with a burgeoning fire as the warmth built around us. Together, Elliot echoed, igniting our collective interior flame. With hearts aligned, we turned toward the shadows, and a brilliant light erupted from us, illuminating the darkness back toward the cavernous maw of the tunnel. Startling shrieks reverberated off the walls as the silhouettes shrank beneath our combined energy. We stood shoulder to shoulder, hearts pounding as love and forgiveness circled us like a protective shield, but then, just as hope surged, something shifted again within the shadows. The air grew heavy, pregnant with an unsettling weight that settled around my heart like a shroud. You think this light makes you invincible? The voices hissed, swirling around us, an eerie melody dancing with menace. You will pay the price for shunning the past. Suddenly, a blinding flash split the darkness, and I heard a gasp from my children, their expressions morphing from valor to stark realization. Mom? Elliot shouted, eyes wide in horror. The light looked at the shadows. A singular shadow started elongating, rising ever higher until it shaped itself into the familiar features of Rebecca, her expression twisted in an amalgam of despair and malice. You cannot run from me. I am part of you, she said, voice echoing like a relentless tide. Your fight is futile. You owe me. You've kept me buried, and I will not be silenced, Becca, I managed, shock coursing through me like ice. This isn't you. Isn't it? She spat, her face twisting as the battle between our desires and the reality we now faced collided violently. You abandoned me to the dark, and now we will face this together, whether you like it or not. Chaos erupted within the clearing, a storm of conflict igniting as a shadow swelled higher, threatening to smother our light. I could feel the shifting tendrils of darkness reaching for us, ready to tear apart the fragile bond we had nurtured in this desperate moment. No. I shouted, desperation crystallizing into resolve. You are not what you claim to be, Rebecca. You're the manifestation of our fears, not our truths. But as I locked eyes with her, my daughter, my flesh and blood, the reality shattered like glass, memories spilling forth anew. For every moment of betrayal, there was also love, every instance of regret layered with comfort, every fractured piece yearning for wholeness. And then there came the answer to the haunting question that overshadowed my heart. We were more than just blood, we were circumstances interwoven. Shadows cannot overtake those willing to confront their fears. Just as I started to step forward, a piercing scream erupted from the darkness, and I could feel the earth rumbling beneath us. It's time for reckoning, the shadows bellowed. The chilling roar of the once distant echoes surged back toward us, threatening to crush everything we had fought for. In that panicked moment of clarity, an overwhelming decision struck me like a clarion call. Together, we would not only confront Rebecca's shadow, we would claim our truth. Join hands, I cried, urgency tinged with fervor. Remember who we are. And as we reached for one another, intertwining like the unbreakable bonds that had been forged through years of love. Confronting the darkness grew no longer an imposition, but a shared journey. Yet as our light surged against the night, Rebecca's shadow shrieked with agony, her consciousness mixing me own awakening knowledge made my heart clench. In our fight to reclaim our family, was there a chance we might awaken something darker, something that would change us forever? Resting atop that precipice of uncertainty, I gasped, feeling the grip of hope intermingle with the blistering dread of what lay ahead. Would facing the darkness free us, or was it merely a guise for something more treacherous lurking within the shroud, of revelation that might forever alter the fabric of our family? The air thickened with an energy I struggled to comprehend, as our hands clasped together. In that desperate moment, we formed a luminous circle, our combined light casting silver threads against the oncoming darkness. Yet as we held on, Rebecca's shadow didn't falter, it tightened around us like a noose. She loomed larger, eerily resonating with the sorrow of abandonment I had tried so hard to bury. I could see our memories reflected in her cruel smile beyond forgiveness. She was the embodiment of every unspoken fear and resentment. "Why do you fight?" she challenged, her voice rolling like thunder. "This part of you longs to remember, longs to feel your pain." In the depths of her twisted stare, I realized that Rebecca had become a mirror reflecting the guilt I had spent years trying to escape. I wanted to scream back, to tell her that this was a lie, but as the shadows flickered around us, the truth felt slippery. "Because I love you," I shouted, fury and sorrow blending into one. "And that love means acknowledging the hurt and pain, not burying it. Our bond deserves light." My voice barely stood amid the cacophony of echoes, but each word felt like a shot into the darkness. She shifted then, her form trembling as shadows rippled around her. "Then face me," she said softly, a cruel twist playing on her lips. "Can you truly say you loved me when you let me go?" My heart sank as I imagined the day I faced the reality of Rebecca's departure. A hurt that had wrapped itself around my chest like a vice, squeezing tighter each time I tried to move on without her. And now, this spectre was asking for an admission I hadn't openly faced. "I let you go because I didn't know how to help you," I breathed, tears forming in my eyes. "That doesn't mean I didn't love you. It meant I was terrified of failing you." Rebecca's shadow flickered, her contradiction evident. "Then let me remind you of your failure," she howled, and suddenly, the fabric of our realm cracked open. A dizzying whirlwind pulled us into a vortex of fragmented memories. I was yanked back to that unbearable day, a hospital room filled with sterile white, the rhythmic beeping of machines, the haunting silence of unsaid goodbyes. I could feel Elliot's small hand in mine as we waited, each second stretching endlessly. "No. This isn't our truth," I shouted, flinging my arms as if that alone could shield my family from the rushing tide. But the shadows enveloped us, the images molding into a symphony of despair. "Face your truth, and perhaps you can slay the shadow." The older woman's voice echoed, resonating through the unfolding pain. It felt like the pulse of the very world around us. Panicking, I met Elliot's gaze, hoping for something, any sign that he understood. He was pale, his determination flickering. "Mom, what do we do?" he cried, his usual confidence waning in the face of our collective memories spiraling around us. "We remember who we are," I insisted, forcing strength into my voice. "All the good hangs wrenching from the bad. And we share that, all of it. Together, we hold on," Emily urged, her voice unwavering even as I felt the pool of sadness threatening to drown us once more. The fire within her flickered like a steadfast flame. As I felt her warmth beside me, a tiny flicker of hope surged within. We wouldn't let the echoes of old betrayals define us. One by one, I called forth our happiest moments, desperate to drown the memories dragging us under. Laughter over summer meals, late night talks under the stars, all the little things we took for granted. But even as we fought to reclaim our joy, Rebecca's shadow surged forward, relentless. "This won't save you," she laughed, the sound twisted with sorrow. "Your joy is but a mask for the hollow." Suddenly, the shadows began to dissolve, leaving a vulnerability exposed at the center of my heart that I could no longer ignore. "What do you really want from me?" I shouted, desperate for clarity. "I want you to remember," she replied, her voice softening. "Your love can't erase the past unless you acknowledge it fully." In that moment, I realized she was both my daughter and a catalyst, a steady force pulling me into the molten core of my own regrets. "Forgive me," I implored, feeling the weight of my heart splayed wide open, ready to receive the unbearable truths I needed to confront. "I forgive you, too." With a rush, the memories came crashing down around us all at once. I could feel the tremor of every moment I had ever fraught with fear, every shiver of guilt that had settled in my bones. But alongside that, I felt something else start to stir, an unexpected tenderness, a willingness to reconnect amid the fractures. And just as hope began to resonate through our hearts, a horrifying shriek pierced through the air, reverberating painfully, wrapping our unity in rays of darkness that threatened to spiral us apart. "You've forgotten what makes you weak." The shadowed cacophony of Rebecca's essence screamed. "And you'll face the consequences dearly." As I braced myself against the force that threatened to tear us apart, a chilling realization washed over Muhat. If my journey to confront Rebecca's shadow unleashed the fullness of darkness she had to offer? What if recognizing our love meant staring vacantly into the abyss? With uncertainty creeping upon us, fear clawed its way up my spine. Were we truly fighting for reconciliation, or were we merely inviting the darker echoes of our past to shatter our fragile existence? The light flickered around us, shimmering unsteadily in the tempest of betrayal now reflected in every shadow. I felt a choice bloom against the threat that shrouded us. Would we let fear dictate our fate, or would we dare to acknowledge the multilayered truth of our love? And just as our resolve began to solidify, a ripping sound reverberated through the air, blaring like a warning alarm. Something was being unleashed from the abyss beyond, and it was coming for us with vengeful intent. "Look!" Elliot cried out, pointing into the depths of the shadows gathering. A darkness began to swirl, taking shape, pulling together with an ominous force. My heart sank as the unmistakable realization hit me. Figure was emerging, and this was not just another echo of our past. The ground trembled beneath our feet just as I caught the gentlest silhouette of the inky figure. It loomed with a palpable hunger that threatened everything we had fought for. "Face me if you dare," it hissed, reveling in the chaos surrounding us. In the darkness, I sensed betrayal and heartache, an unknown force intertwined with our deepest fears. I gripped my children's hands tightly, ready to face whatever lay ahead, though the seed of doubt gnawed at me. Just beneath that shadow lay a revelation I feared could shatter us completely, an awakening that would forge our destinies anew. The figure before us grew larger, the air around us crackling with an energy that felt both intoxicating and terrifying. I could hardly breathe, the weight of uncertainty pressuring my chest. This was no ordinary foe, it was the manifestation of our collective fears, a being formed from the regrets and sorrows we had tried to ignore for so long. "You are nothing," I shouted, though my heart trembled against the truth of my own words. "We are more than our pasts. We are a family." But the shadow laughed, a sound that reverberated through the remnants of our memories, a taunt that seemed to echo with every insecurity I'd ever harbored. "Do you truly believe that, little sister? You are woven from memories, and I hold the threads. If you want to escape your fate, you must untie your bonds from the past." With each word, its power pulsed like a heartbeat, drowning out any glimmer of hope that might have remained. I turned to Elliot and Emily, their faces pale but resolute. Now was a moment to make a choice, not just for myself, but for the very fabric of our family. luminous yet fragile, threaded through pain and love alike. Remember what connects us, I urged them, my voice a frail thread trying to cling tightly. All those times we laughed, shared joys, moments filled with hope. We've fought through too much together to let this darkness swallow us whole. In that heartbeat of unity, I could feel the warm glow of our shared memories radiating outward like a beacon against the encroaching gloom. We know our hearts, Emily chimed in, and they are stronger than any shadow. The encircling darkness writhed, hissing as if stung by the light we were illuminating, but it couldn't silence our resolve. The figure before us faltered, its form shimmering uneasily, a reflection of the chaos that continued to swirl within its depths. Don't forget, it began, but with a determined thrust of our hands together, we shouted back the truth with unwavering force echoing through the shadows. We are a family. The pulsing light around us became brighter, solidifying into something more profound, a bridge between our past and our courage for the future. We were the love that had withstood the tests of betrayal, fear, and seclusion. With each layer of truth we unearthed, the figure began to shatter, first a flicker before collapsing under our fury. Rebecca's shadow splintered then, her anguished expression flashing before us again, mirrored within that terrible form. But there, submerged in the folds of despair, I glimpsed the reflection of love, the sister's heart I had feared to lose. You promised, I whispered, my voice strained under the tsunami of emotions battling for release. You promised we would rise together, not fall apart. Her figure hesitated, warring between the pool of darkness and the warmth of longing. Who would she choose to be right now, right here? Sister, she murmured, almost pleading. The shadows around us twisted briefly, caught in the flickering tension between our shared histories. What we had once seen as distance morphed into the rhythms of pain and understanding, raw like an open wound yet pulsing with a possibility for healing. I forgive you for every betrayal, I declared, the words infused with a power I had long withheld. You are still my sister, and that can never change. With that admission, the shadows howled, attempting to reclaim strength, but I felt the flames of our unity rising higher, glowing with each confession of love, shaping spells of possibility. The barriers that had once kept us apart began to fade as we joined our hearts and our truths in a chorus of defiance against the encroaching darkness. A gasp fell across us as the shadows began to pull away, reluctant to lose their hold on the fears that had kept them fed for so long. You think you've won? The darkness cried, its voice splintering as its form fractured further. You are still bound by your history, no. Elliot shouted, the strength of his belief forcing back more waves of shadow. You mistake our struggles for chains. Our love has turned them into wings. We do not seek merely to escape, we demand to rise. The world ignited around us, our collective energy crystallizing into a radiant surge that enveloped the shadows, illuminating their very essence until they were stripped away. We surged forward, casting our sacrifices into the depths of that darkness, absorbing the grief of years under a single declaration of our truth, and then the shadows shattered entirely, dissolved under the overwhelming wave of light cascading forth from our unity. The echoes of our past fell silent at last, swallowed by the brilliance that surged towards the horizon, signaling the dawn. We stood there amid the glow, breathless and whole, feeling the warmth wrap around us like an embrace. The entrance to our fears had been conquered, but it was the love that broke down those barriers that mattered most, intertwining us from within. Mom, Emily whispered, her voice tinged with awe and relief. Did we really just do it? We did, I replied, tears glimmering in my eyes, mingling joy and grief as memories danced within. We faced it together, and it has made us whole once more. With a final lingering glance toward the path of shadows faded behind us, I knew that whatever lay ahead, we had chosen to step into a new lighter journey onward, hand in hand, armed with understanding, forgiveness, and an acceptance that wouldn't allow moments to go unaddressed again. I turned toward my children, Feeling the gravity and beauty in the promise wrapped within those moments, we had reclaimed moments that taught us healing could only emerge from facing our truths. As we stepped forward into the dawn, I confidently declared the sentiments held within my heart, a truth we would carry forever. In the light of love, we will never be shadows again.